And I asked him, so why do you still have that promise on the note? And he said, well, that's if your banknote is damaged, you can bring it in and we'll give you a new one. And then I asked him, so why don't you write that on the note? And he couldn't answer me. So there you go. Hidden in plain sight. Monday, July 8th, 2024. Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to talk about the Bank of England and the Bank of England's banknotes and the Bank of England's gold that it holds for other countries, for the UK Treasury. And we're going to look at why the Bank of England, they hide a system that is a house of cards in plain sight. And that is usually the best way to hide something that is wrong, in plain sight. And recently, the Bank of England, along with the World Gold Council, and they're tightly related, the World Gold Council, the LBMA, the Bank of England, they did a little video with an actor called Idris Elba. He's a famous English actor. I hadn't really actually heard much about him, but he actually has an OBE. And to my American friends and viewers, an OBE is the most excellent order of the British Empire. So this is someone who's probably going to be knighted in a few years' time. He'll be called Sir. So he's kind of getting into the establishment, even though he grew up in East London or somewhere. His background is not economics, but I like to talk about this because sometimes the simplest things are the things that explain something the best. It's the concept of Occam's razor. We hear, of course, stuff from the IMF, from the World Bank, from the Bank of England, from the Fed, ECB. They have countless conferences every 6 months. You know, they travel all around the world to talk about the consequences of money printing or QE, the consequences of deflation, whatever. But I always think that looking at the simplest things is the best way to explain to the layman, to you, what the real problem is with our current fiat currency monetary system, a system where there is no money, where the money that we think we have are just I owe you nothings. And yet, institutions like the Bank of England, the Fed, the ECB, and other central banks, they keep thousands of tons of gold. So why can't we participate? Why can't we have a sound and sane and honest system for the public? Well, because they want to control you. But this video is relatively short. It's only 6 minutes. I'm going to put it up in the cards, but I'm going to refer to it. And I'm going to give you a little summary of it and the interesting parts that I thought were very pertinent. So Idris Elba, he's walking along the city of London, and it's a place where I walk fairly regularly when I go and see and meet my friends at Gold Investments. They're not far away from the Bank of England, Gold Investments. So he walks by the old Royal Exchange.
They say the streets are paved with gold, and that isn't as far-fetched as it sounds.
Yes, that's the exchange where Nathan Rothschild kind of fooled the world and pretended that England had lost the Battle of Waterloo and started selling the stock market dump, and then he started buying it for pennies on the pound or pennies on the dollar, and that's how the Rothschilds made their fortune. But now the Royal Exchange is just like a shopping center. There's some nice restaurants in there as well. Fortnum and Mason. That's all it is. But on the other side of the road, Idris Elba walks straight in through the front door of the Bank of England. I showed my wife the video and she said, "Oh, I've been in there." And I said, "No, you've been on the side door into the museum that they have." So anyway, he gets into the Bank of England, looks beautiful, palatial, and he meets the chief cashier. And for all my viewers and friends in the UK, if you've got like a 20 pound or a 5 pound or a 10 pound banknote, you probably will have noticed that there's a promise on top of the banknote, Bank of England note, that says, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of," and it's either going to be 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, or 50 pounds. But who actually makes that promise? Well, it's the chief cashier. And right now, the chief cashier is a lady called Sarah John. And she looks very nice, very friendly, but she's hiding something in plain sight. And what is it? Well, she's hiding the fact that the Bank of England note is an IOU nothing. That it's really a Ponzi scheme. And that's the best way to do it. And unfortunately, Idris Elba, who doesn't have an economics background, wasn't inquisitive enough to ask, "What's this IOU for?" He just said it was an IOU because he showed a 20-pound note with her signature on it, and he talked about this promise, and he said it's just an IOU now.
See this? Just there? That's Sarah's signature with the words, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £20. It's just an IOU.
But the most interesting part of this video was when they walked into one of the vaults. And I know from good sources that the Bank of England has many vaults, not just under the Bank of England at Threadneedle Street, but all over the city of London and London. And it's quite awe-inspiring to see all that gold there. And he is kind of saying, you know, this is really, it's like the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And she goes on to say that actually they've got about 400,000 of these gold bars. They're about 12 kilos each of the bars. So they've got about just over 5,000 tons, and 300 of those are held for the UK Treasury. Of course, the UK had double that amount until Gordon Brown sold off half the UK's gold back in 1999-2000. But the rest is actually held for other central banks, for other international institutions like the Bank for International Settlements. But it's interesting that when they walk into that vault, she says, the chief cashier says, well, this is the Bank of England's gold. And that's not also technically correct. This is being held by the Bank of England for its clients. But anyway, the most interesting part to me was when Idris Elba actually asked her, why do we hold all this gold? Why, what's the story here? And she goes on to tell him about the goldsmiths, about the fact that goldsmiths used to write IOUs for people who left their gold with the goldsmiths. She didn't say, though, that you could go back with that IOU and get your gold back. She didn't say that. But one thing she said that was, I thought, not economical with the truth, but basically misinformation, was that gold is too heavy and too bulky to carry around. And Idris Elba even said, yeah, it's too bulky. You can't even flip a gold coin. So what?
I've got to ask the question, like, why do we have this here? How did it turn into, okay, the bank needs to hold this much gold? What was the process? Like, take me back.
So obviously gold's been used for quite a number of years as a form of money. First of all, gold coins themselves. But the problem with gold coins is they're actually quite heavy to carry around.
Can't flip it, no.
Exactly.
What I'm going to do here now is flip a gold sovereign. And why a gold sovereign? Well, because a gold sovereign was the basis of the monetary system until 1914. You could take your Bank of England £1 note or £5 note to any bank or even to the Bank of England and ask them to pay you on demand. So here's a sovereign. That's still a pound. I know it costs 450 fiat pounds to buy it, but it's still a pound. And what I'm going to do now is flip it. And you'll see that it's not hard to flip a gold coin, especially a sovereign. So there you go. I flipped it and I got tails. Idris Elba, I got tails. And the interesting thing is that I've got here a £1 fiat pound. It's a token pound. It's copper nickel. And if you look at the this picture here, I weighed both of the coins and look at which coin weighs the most. Well, it's this one that's worth only a pound. You can only get a fiat pound worth of goods. So I thought that was a little bit misleading, but in all, I thought it was an interesting, informative video, but I wanted to warn you about, the fact that the cashier of the Bank of England is hiding this house of cards in plain sight. And why is it a house of cards? Well, because basically the Bank of England note is an I owe you nothing. There's nothing behind it. And I had a eureka moment many years ago, maybe about 20 years ago, when I was still working in the financial sector in the city of London, and usually around 11:45 or 12, used to go out to get some lunch and bring it back and eat at the desk. And I had been looking into gold. I had already started buying gold. I was studying the monetary system and how gold had always been money and how our system was fragile, the fiat currency system. And then one day I went to get some lunch, and I think I gave a £20 note to pay for my lunch, probably a sandwich and a drink and some crisps or chips, as the Americans call. And I got back £10 and a bit of change. But for some reason, when I got that when I got the £10 from my pocket, I put it in my pocket for some reason, and then I took my wallet out, I saw that promise on the Bank of England note. And back then the notes were a bit bigger, and they weren't this plastic notes that we have now. And it said, I promised to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10. And I thought to myself, £10 of what, right? And when I got back to the office, I actually called the Bank of England press office, and I spoke to someone. They passed me on to someone because I wanted to ask about the banknotes. And I asked the gentleman, what's this promise for? What do you pay in? And he told me, well, back when we had a gold standard, we used to pay in gold. So this was a pound, and it's still a pound today. It's legal tender, and the face value is a pound. And he said, we're not on the gold standard anymore, so we don't give you a sovereign anymore, or we don't give you two half sovereigns. And I asked him, so why do you still have that promise on the note? And he said, well, that's if your banknote is damaged, you can bring it in and we'll give you a new one. And then I asked him, so why don't you write that on the note? And he couldn't answer me. So there you go, hidden in plain sight. And that's why this system is doomed to fail. They've been able to keep it going, I know, for many decades. But it's going to continue to fail as well in terms of the fact that the Bank of England promises are going to become worth less and less versus real money. And it's interesting that Sarah John says that gold historically is money. And it's really interesting as well at the end of the video that Idris Elba actually says that it's the best store value there is, and it's the best thing to have in a major crisis. Are they trying to warn us? Well, maybe, but I've been warning you anyway since late 2015, and hopefully those of you who are new to this channel have been warned. So before we wrap up, just wanted to ask you to make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my videos. Make sure you hit the little notification bell to be notified of all my new videos. And also hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day and a very good start to your week. Take care. Bye.